Right, hello everybody. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session. My name's Hebe Lawson. I'm the Modern Slavery Lead at the Council, and we are all here today to hear about the needs of women facing sexual exploitation in Coventry, which is a session that is going to be delivered by Emma at Kairos. And thank you very much to Emma for providing the session. A couple of housekeeping things before we start. We are recording the session, so if you don't want your face to be visible, please turn your camera off. Keep your microphone muted unless you want to ask a question. If you do want to ask a question or make a comment, we should have some time at the end, but you can also use the chat or raise your hand. Holly, wave, there she is. Holly and I are going to be monitoring the chat while we go through the session. So yeah, we look forward to hearing your questions and your comments. So I'll hand over to you, Emma, now. Thank you very much.
No problem. Can everyone still see my screen?
Yes.
Great, perfect. So my name is Emma Mitchell. I am the team manager at Kairos. We've been working together in Coventry. Thank you all for taking your time to come and listen to the presentation today. There will be a little bit of interaction. Hopefully it won't be me talking all the time, and then some time for questions and discussion at the end, hopefully. Okay, so I'll just start with telling you a little bit about Kairos. So our overarching vision is that we would see a world where every woman matters and all women live free from exploitation, violence and abuse. We do that by supporting, advocating for and empowering women who face multiple disadvantage. And these women may be subject to or are at risk of sexual exploitation. We want to increase their safety, stability, self-belief and self-reliance. And we do that by working holistically with a wide range of women. And these women typically have multiple unmet needs. Often mainstream or single issue services struggle to engage with the women and they fall through the net of support. The support that we offer is trauma informed, it is women centered and open ended. And one of the things we often get asked is what does Kairos mean? And Kairos is an ancient Greek word and it means the right, critical or opportune moment for the accomplishment of crucial action. So we try to embody this in our day-to-day work, holding space for women until the time is right for them to take action towards their goals. We aim to provide options and create opportunities, and ultimately we want to support women to accomplish the change that they want for their lives. So Kairos was set up in April 1999, and initially it was to reach women who were involved in selling sex on the streets and hillfields. The women that set up Kairos initially saw that this group were marginalised and vulnerable and started to offer a street outreach service, and it was volunteers initially. Over the formative years, Kairos grew and we gained charitable status in 2002. Kairos started providing one-to-one support groups, prison in reach, and in 2013 the Feeling Safe projects were started, which is for younger women aged 16 to 25. And that was all in line with what the women who came to the doors of Kairos really needed and wanted. So we now provide a wide range of services to a wide range of women, in addition to women involved in street-based prostitution. Kairos employs a team of 14 staff to undertake the work, and we have a team of 16 dedicated volunteers. On average, we engage with 180 women each month and around 290 individual women plus their children every year. So we're very busy. So I just wanted to start by asking a question around what we mean by the words exploitation and what you might think the differences are between child sexual exploitation and sexual exploitation. You can ignore the bottom bit because I was meant to take that up. Oh no, sorry. So yeah, if you I've just stopped sharing for a minute, but if you want to put in the chat or raise your hand and share any thoughts that you have around exploitation and the differences between child exploitation and adult exploitation, if you like.
Nothing in the chat so far, Emma. I could give you an,
Okay.
oh, I was about to give you an answer, but that felt a bit like cheating. So I'm glad that Rosemary's put her hand up.
Thanks,
Go on.
Rosemary.
It's fine. I think I did it that way because it's tricky to put it just in a quick thing in the chat. I'm not so good at doing that. I think for me, exploitation is when somebody's vulnerabilities have been targeted so that although it may appear that there may be consent to things, actually the consent is not real consent because there has actually been that working on the vulnerabilities to make use of the person, and I'm saying that in that broadest term, using that person, objectifying and gaining from them in whatever way. So that might be exploiting them financially by using them sexually, or it might be for their own personal gratification, but they're using this person by exploiting their vulnerabilities.
Yeah, that is a good explanation or definition of exploitation, Rosemary. And I think that we often use the terms exploitation. Certainly in the environment that I work in, we talk about exploitation, we talk about child sexual exploitation, we talk about adult sexual exploitation, and all forms of exploitation. But for us anyway, in our organisation, sometimes it's just good to like take a little pause and think, what are we actually saying here? Because
I need something. I was like, I need something fancy for the
okay, so I will just go through some definitions with you. This is why nobody should ever let me lose on Teams. So exploitation is a form of abuse where someone is forced or coerced into doing things for the benefit of others. Exploitation is often a gradual process, and people are groomed and introduced to new ideas and behaviours, and that makes those ideas and behaviours appear normal and acceptable. The behaviours
Emma,
and
sorry,
activities.
are you
Yes.
wanting to be sharing your screen? Because we can't see anything.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yes, I do want to be sharing my screen.
While you do that, we've had a couple of people put something in the chat. Gemma said exploitation is to be taken advantage of, and Harjit has said supporting vulnerable children and grooming, forcing them to do things.
Great, thank
Which
you.
fits with what you were saying, I think.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Hopefully I am back and on the right side. Amazing. Yes. So the behaviours and activities often may seem exciting or give something to the person that they're looking for, and that might be because they're in poverty, and so it could be gifts, money, or a sense of belonging as well. People may not recognise that they're being exploited, and they often don't until their situation becomes very serious. And exploitation can take many forms in a range of situations and involve many different people. So you might think, like, why are we talking about child sexual exploitation when I've come today to learn about working with women who are sexually exploited. And that is because child exploitation is a form of child sexual abuse in which a person of any age takes advantage of a power imbalance to force or entice a child into engaging in sexual activity in return for something. And that is something that is received by the child and or those perpetrating or facilitating the abuse. And that is a definition provided by Scottish government. But often when we think about how children are exploited, we can view that as being very different to how adults are exploited, especially with sexual exploitation. And it is it's pretty much the same when you look at the definitions. It's about a power imbalance. It's about obviously with children they are much more vulnerable because they're children. I'm not trying to downplay child sexual abuse, but I think sometimes people forget that with adult sexual exploitation, it is someone abusing a position of power and preying on a person's vulnerabilities. So it could be a person depending on you for survival, food, rations, school, books, transport. It can involve sexual favours and money and different social, economic or political advantages. And it does include trafficking and prostitution. And at Kairos, we know that women who are involved in the sex industry and they're selling sex, it can have lots of different nuances, but a lot of the women that we see that are involved in street-based sex work are being sexually exploited. So as I just alluded to, I'm going to talk a little bit about the women that we see and the needs that we address. Every woman that we support has experienced trauma and struggles with the impact of trauma. The majority of the women that we support were subjected to at least one form of childhood abuse. And for those involved in prostitution, most were exploited into it as teenagers. So as you can see, there is that link and that correlation between child sexual abuse and then being sexually exploited as an adult, and child sexual exploitation and being sexually exploited as adults. Around 3/4 of the women that we supported grew up in care. They may have never experienced a safe, loving relationship. To add to that, many of the women have also had children removed from their care, and the vast majority are routinely subjected to at least one form of violence and abuse. That could be sexual violence, domestic violence, and or coercive control. It is no surprise then that a lot of these women turn to substance use as a coping strategy, and 2/3 of the women that we support have spent time in prison. All of the women live in abject poverty. So you can see hopefully some of the vulnerabilities that make these women vulnerable to sexual exploitation coming through in the lives that they've led and the challenges that they face currently. The women also face barriers to accessing services, which can lead to further isolation. And when they're involved with many services at the same time, it becomes overwhelming and difficult to navigate. And then the women are also subjected to systematic injustice. There's intolerance, victim blaming, pathologization and discrimination. So through our support and advocacy services, we aim to help the women and support alongside them to overcome some of the challenges that they experience. So just to talk a little bit around prostitution and the challenges that women face. So there are 60 to 80,000 women involved in prostitution in the UK. And this is an estimate because so much of the sex trade is hidden. 11% of British men aged 16 to 74 have paid for sex at least once. In the UK, women involved in street-based prostitution are 12 times more likely to be murdered than any other women. 70% of the women have had care involvement as children, and 75% became involved in prostitution as children. So they were sexually exploited into prostitution as children. They're also at higher risk of other forms of male violence, including rape, sexual assault, physical assault, robbery, stalking, harassment. The list goes on. And in 2014, an all-party parliamentary group described the violence experienced by women in the sex industry as a near pandemic. So the work that we do is underpinned by our values. We are a values-driven organisation, and I'm just going to go through some of the values that we try to embody in our practice with you. So we believe that the women have the right to be respected and treated fairly. So we work with compassion, we act with humanity, and we want to listen curiously to understanding what is causing the woman their difficulties or distress. So we try not to make assumptions. We value each woman as a unique individual, hold space for them, and empathetically seek to understand their priorities. The most important thing for us is to recognise that they are adult women, and we don't want to treat them like children or disempower them. So we recognise that the women we support have a right to self-determination. We avoid rescuing the women we support so that they can develop their own sense of self-belief and establish a sense of choice, control and agency within their lives. We don't want to treat them as passive recipients of help, and we do that through trying to maintain strong professional boundaries to ensure that we can facilitate their independence. We understand that women who are at risk of sexual violence and sexual exploitation face significant injustice in their lives. So justice is one of our values. We want to give women a voice, and we do that through passionately advocating for women to ensure that their voices are amplified and their rights are upheld. We do this by positively challenging and influencing policy and systems to try to improve outcomes for all. Okay, hopefully you've got my next slide now. So we are women-centred. Kairos is run by women for women, and women supported by Kairos have been subjected to male violence, and all are impacted by trauma. The women tell us that the presence of males could significantly act as a barrier to their engagement, and we provide women-only services and spaces. We are trauma informed, so we consider the effects of trauma in our interactions with women and in the design of our environment, our approach and our services, and we challenge the way in which women are often blamed and pathologized for their trauma. We focus on their strengths and a non-victim blaming, and we advocate for a trauma-informed approach at local, regional and national levels. We are hopeful, so we believe in the potential of every woman and empower them to believe in themselves. We always hold hope even when we feel that a woman might not want or feel ready for change. We don't give up. The woman is where she is, right? So we will support her on that journey to whatever goals that she wants to achieve. So we do that through various different services and projects that we have in Kairos. So our first service that I'm going to tell you about is Aspire. So Aspire is for women over the age of 25, and they may be or have been involved in prostitution and have high levels of multi-agency case coordination. Then we have our Feeling Safe project, which is for young women aged 16 to 24. These women might have been subjected to child sexual exploitation. So we are involved in transitional safeguarding. So when young women and girls are involved with agencies when they're 16, 17, 18, that support may be coming to an end when they get to their 18th birthday. So we want to ensure and be part of a multi-agency response to making sure that that woman is still supported, because if she's been subject to child sexual exploitation at 16, it's highly likely that when she reaches 18, unless the right support is put in place, that is not going to change, and the abuse is still going to look the same. For that woman, we offer a Queen Bees group for young women, where we do it's a 12-week rolling program, and each program will have a theme. So this theme, I think we're looking at healthy habits, and the women kind of shape that. We do summer program, which is all around confidence building, new experiences. We take the women out and about in the community and try to give them as many new and fun experiences as possible. And then we also are busy setting up our peer mentoring program. Oh, these little things are coming out not as they're meant to, but we'll roll with it. So the next one I'll tell you about is a home of our own. So we have a specialist housing practitioner who supports women across all of the services who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, and we support them to access safe, suitable accommodation and then maintain it. We have a specialist women's justice practitioner and a women's justice support and advocacy practitioner. So on that project, we do prison in reach, release planning, community reintegration. A lot of women who are involved in the criminal justice system are there because of their past trauma, because of current exploitation, because of coercion, because of abusive relationships. We also have our Blossoms group, which is running right now, and that is for pregnant women and new mums, and they are often facing child removal at birth. That group is co-facilitated with a specialist NHS midwife, and the focus of that group is antenatal support, peer support and engagement with social care, removing the barriers for women accessing antenatal support in the community. We then do an evening street outreach and drop-in, which is every Wednesday night in Hillfields, and it is a walking street outreach. The drop-in is at St Mary's Church, and we focus on harm reduction on the outreach. So we offer condoms, a safe space, needle exchange, naloxone, reporting crime, food, just somewhere to come in and get warm and have a hot drink. We then have a drop-in on a Wednesday daytime, which is at our women's hub at St Margaret's Church on Ball Hill. So that is called Wonder Women Wednesdays, named by the women. And that is a multi-agency support drop-in. So we have independent domestic violence advisors, independent sexual violence advisors, CGL, Central England Law Centre. There's a hot meal, social inclusion and wellbeing activities. Women can have a shower, they can get clean clothes, that kind of thing. And then it says on there that we have counselling delivered in partnership with Valley House, and that's actually stopped now because of funding, but we are exploring new streams. And we also do life skills sessions, wellbeing sessions and garden sessions.
Oh, you're on mute, Emma. And just to let you know, we've got 5 minutes left of the session.
Okay. So, I'm not on mute now, am I?
No, but you've stopped sharing your screen.
Yeah, I've done that intentionally because it's like coming to the end of the presentation. So that is Kairos Whistle Stop Tour. Does anybody have any questions?
So we, Hebe, do you want to pause the recording?
Oh, thanks, Holly. I'm supposed to stop the recording before we come to session.